And we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Real Estate, hosted by yours truly. I'm Ray, and I'm a bearded man of real estate. We got a ton of great news to cover today. Oh, wait, I'm also playing over here. Let's see. Let me hit the go live button separately on Instagram because that's how you have to do it. And there, we're broadcasting on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, Kick, Instagram, and of course, Clubhouse. And if you're joining us over on any of those social media sites that allow you to comment on it, except for Instagram, I can actually display your comment and I can talk about you, or I can just talk about your comment, just like Olivier. He said, Matt, are you playing Where's Waldo? Yeah, where is Matt? I haven't seen Matt in a while. He must be busy this summer. He must be in one of the few markets that's doing incredible. We're going to be talking about the markets around the country. It's not what everyone anticipated. Well, I don't know. We'll have to go back to our prediction show. Let's see. If you're watching over on Instagram, I see a couple of you over there. You can comment. I'll give your Instagram handle a shout out. I can't display your comment. And then if you're listening on Clubhouse and you want to add your voice to the podcast, all you have to do is raise your hand. If you have a bio filled out and we can tell that you're a real person, we'll allow you to join the podcast live. And be careful what you say. Whatever you say will be broadcast publicly live at that moment and will be live in perpetuity forever and ever and ever. We have more Zillow Compass news today. We have a house listed without someone's permission today. We have TV stars joining SERHANT, but we have a ton of economic news I want to dive through. So I'm looking forward to it. So thank you everyone for joining. And, I forgot to do the little... So here's a little behind the scenes. Before I go live, I'll show you what this looks like. I think I've only shown this a couple of times. Elizabeth Nightingale from Charleston, South Carolina says, hey, she's in the comments. What's up, Elizabeth? Thanks for joining. This is what the rundown looks like. If you want some tea here, share screen, the rundown. This is it. Here's the magic. This is what I collect all of the show notes in and things like that every week. And then after we broadcast, we go through and we put the timestamps of each article. And it's actually a little bit of work, isn't it? So this is what I use to appropriately adjust all of the article sizes and stuff. So, all right. Okay, so first up, we have a really weird story, and I want to share this because it also happened to one of my clients. The Chicago property was listed for $200,000, and the owner says he never signed off on it. What? How does this happen? Have you guys ever had this happen in your market where a house was listed, but the owner of the house didn't know the house was listed and didn't think the house would be listed? Olivier says, you're way too organized for me, Mr. High C disc profile. You saw the post. I'm going to show that I did a new intro post, and I have a question for those of you on the call. And I want to see if it would be helpful to do like a little lofty class, or not lofty. What's it called? Canva class sometime to talk about how we do those graphics. So we'll get to that. I'll show it in a minute. But first, Chicago property was listed for $200,000. The owner says he never signed off. This article is on Broke Agent Media. What started as a headline turned into a case study in due diligence. It's also a reminder that not every listing dispute is as simple as it might look. Chicago man says a fixer-upper was listed for sale without his knowledge, permission, or signature. A look closer at the story broke down what happened. So all right, before looking any deeper, I want to know what you think happened. If you're watching the replay, or if you're even if you're just on Clubhouse, I'm going to chime in. How does somebody's property get listed without their knowledge or permission? I think I know what it is. When I was reading this originally, I thought, oh, this is what happened to my client. And it's not necessarily, if it is what it was, which I'm not going to tell you yet, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It could be two or three things that would allow this to happen. Elizabeth Nightingale said, it's a big land scam around here. What is the land scam? How is it a land scam? Drop in the comments what you think. Pause it, answer it, and then let's get it. Hillary, what's up? Hillary in Nashville says Title Co scam with identity fraud. Okay, so y'all are talking about the things that we've talked about previously on the show where someone would say, hey, I've got this parcel of land for sale. I need you to sell it for me. And they would even sometimes send in an ID of the person, and then they would sign it to sell. They would sell it, and then it would come out after the sale sometimes that the seller never wanted to sell the property, that the guy just faked that they were the seller the whole time. Elizabeth Nightingale says, yeah, scammers impersonate sellers and then glom onto real estate agents to sell their property. Glom? That's a good word. All right, so let's see what happened in this case. The property was posted on the MLS, promoted on social media, featured in videos that included interior shots of the home. According to Frank Diaz, the legal owner, he never authorized the listing and never met the agent, Anthony Kirkland, who was marketing the property. What? as Diaz put it, I recognize the property. I recognize the front door. I was not their client, and I am not their client. That sounds like a Dr. Seuss right there. Let's see. Marketing videos appeared on his Instagram. They've since been deleted. CBS News reached out. The response was brief. Somebody was posing as the owner, and once I was informed he wasn't the owner, we took it down. That was it. How does this happen? Oh, they're the Diaz's right there. Interesting. Special thanks to my amazing buyer clients, Jessica and Pedro Diaz, the brother of the sister of Frank Diaz, for hiring me as their realtor. Thanks for the referral. Appreciate. Wait, what happened here? Let's see. One of Kirkland's Instagram posts, he thanks his buyer clients, Jessica and Pedro Diaz, alluding to their brother or sister, Frank Diaz. Special thanks. Wow. Is it possible that Kirkland spoke to a different Frank Diaz? We may never know. No clear connection. Is it a mistaken identity? What's happened? No, it's not mistaken identity. It's most likely fraud, like what Elizabeth was saying. So there's two ways to do this that I know of. The first is what we just talked about, the identity fraud. So guys, please check. Please do whatever you can to make sure that people are real. Secondly, one way is if there's a wholesaler that is listing the property on behalf of the wholesaler, but not your seller. So interesting situation. And I think it's a wholesaler. We're still kind of trying to figure it out. A guy was hiring me to list their property, and suddenly there was a sign in their yard. I'm like, what's this? Well, my client, before listing the property publicly, was talking about offering it to some investors, which at the time I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. So he offered it to some investors, signed some paperwork so they could offer it to their investor group. And apparently their investor group is just hiring a real estate agent and putting a sign in the yard. I'm like, wait a minute, what are you doing? So yeah. So the clients saw a sign in their yard. It's like, who's this? We didn't sign off on this. So it's basically a wholesaler hiring the real estate agent to sell it on behalf of the seller who didn't really sign off on selling it. So watch out, guys. Crazy world out there. All right, and some simpler news. Not really, but Zillow claps back at Compass. So Zillow responds to Compass's 3-phase marketing strategy and says it's a hidden listing scheme, despite Compass actually wanting to reveal the listings, which is what makes it illegal. From the filing, Compass has developed a 3-phase hidden listing scheme through which it can control consumers' access to home listings, reduce competition, and increase commissions during the first 2 phases of this scheme. Homebuyers are dependent on Compass to learn about homes for sale because Compass prevents Zillow from displaying these hidden listings on Zillow's website and apps. But Compass concedes that almost all of these hidden listings do not actually sell during these two phases. So in phase 3, Compass seeks to force Zillow to display its unsold listings, reaping for free the benefits of Zillow's investment to attract millions of consumers to its platform. I mean, it's quite a big grandstand. Seeing this from Zillow's perspective is kind of wild in how they see it, as they want Zillow to list it for free. Zillow is making money off the listing. But the way they say, oh, Compass gets to list it for free on our website. Yeah, because you sell it. They're giving you product to sell. It's like filling your shelves with free product and then you go sell it. It's a ridiculous response, in my opinion. But everyone was like, ooh, Zillow hit Compass back. This is a stupid response, especially since in Zillow's own initial take, they said, oh, it hurts buyers and sellers to keep properties off the market. And then they continue to keep properties off the market that Compass is listing. It's just dumb. Also, it does, if this is the problem, all right, if Zillow's argument is, well, you have a brokerage that's keeping properties off the market, and they're trying to double in those deals or hide those listings or market them within their own little network, and they're trying to keep these properties off the market to increase commissions, which I would think an increase in commission would mean you're trying to double in the deal. Although they don't really say double end it. But reduce competition, meaning other people can't find it. Increase commissions, meaning they're trying to double end it. If it was illegal to do that, then everyone following the clear cooperation policy should not be allowed to be on Zillow, from Zillow's take. Because following the clear cooperation policy allows you to have a brokerage exclusive or a limited marketing property now, keeping it out of public view and only marketing it within your brokerage, seemingly to double in the deal, which is exactly what Zillow is arguing against. And if they're arguing against that, then they have to be against the clear cooperation policy. What Compass wants to do, and this is where Zillow is way against it because Zillow fears losing money from it. What Compass wants to do is to tell other agents about the listings that they are having as a brokerage exclusive. And so what that does is it increases the potential that properties will sell without ever hitting Zillow. And if that happens, and agents start to learn that we don't really need Zillow, and that if we continue to send Zillow our listings and they're just selling them to other agents that have no idea anything about the property, then there's probably going to be a lot of companies that do the same thing that Compass is doing. So on one side of the mouth, people like Dwiggins and Leo are all saying, well, this is terrible because Compass is trying to keep both sides of the deal. And they're not. But I think as soon as they see that Compass is successful in this, they're going to create their own series. And if they don't follow the rules like Compass is in it, I think they could get into some big trouble. I think Compass is doing it the right way. The only thing they're doing that's against CCP is they're wanting to tell other agents about it. Maybe list it on their website. That's it. So they're the ones that are trying to tell the market more about their properties. All of the other companies are trying to keep them secret and double end it. Who's more transparent?
Can I ask why NAR would have a problem with that? Because it circumvents MLSs that they need to be in control of?
Yeah, I mean, so it goes back to the clear cooperation. People were telling me that years and years and years ago, back in the days of the books of real estate, that especially in areas like California, you would have people signing up with multiple brokerages because they would want to see the listings that those brokerages have. And then
Very true.
Then the MLS was invented and everyone shared it on the MLS. I don't think anyone is saying to sign up with multiple brokerages in order to see it. I think what Compass is trying to do, because you would still have to do that. Right now, you would still have to do that. If you want the secret listings that EXP has, then you have to sign up with an EXP agent. If you want the secret listings that Next Home has, you would have to sign up with somebody from Next Home. If you want the secret listings that Compass has, you have to sign up with Compass. That is how it currently is. And no one is running around doing that. So what Compass is saying is we want to publicize it so anyone can see it on our own website. Now, the only problem that NAR should have with that, it used to be twofold. It used to say, well, we don't know if they're offering compensation to the buyer side of the transaction because there's no co-brokerage or co-opting. So, we want them to follow the MLS rules and to put the property into the MLS because then they know that they're offering compensation to the other side. Well, that's done for. So the lawsuit kicked that out to where now buyers have to pay their own fee and you have to negotiate it through the sale of the property. So the only remaining pillar would be listing it so that all the agents have access to the property. And with the advent of technology, how it is today, it's like, I'll show you guys this. Let me show you one more thing. I show you. All right. Let's look here. Let's see. Share this tab instead. All right. I'm going to show you guys. No, it can't be the tab. I got to show you my screen. This would be no problem for any agent to do. Let's say there were 10 different major companies in the area that had their own 10 different little custom MLSs, I guess you could say. Let's see, share the window. This is what I want. All right, I want you to watch what happens here. All I'm going to do, you see this thing that says tWiRE up here, this little tab? I'm just going to hit that tab and watch what happens. Boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My 8 most used sources for this show pop up across the top. And it would be no trouble for an agent that knows what they're doing. All they have to do is create a little tab set and then have all 10 of those things, and then they could search them. I mean, the biggest argument that I've heard against this is like, oh, well, agents would have to go to multiple sites. Okay. So continue to tell me how you want to invalidate your job. I mean, it's no problem to go to multiple sites for stuff. That's easy to do. And if that's the biggest gripe, what are we doing? We should be letting sellers sell how they want to sell, period. And if we're not doing that, if we're forcing them into a different set, then we should have a really good reason for it. And I just don't think they have that good reason anymore.
We need to flip that. We should let sellers sell how they want to sell, but we shouldn't be telling them how they should sell for our own benefit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's marketing.
But okay.
We're going to do that constantly. I mean, we do that now. We say you should sell at this price, and that's in part for our benefit, but it's also for theirs, right? If they sell faster, then doesn't that do something good for us as an agent? Yeah. If they sell for more money, doesn't that benefit us? Yeah, because we get more commission. So it's hard to separate purely acting on behalf of the client when there's no real data to show which way is better. And if you have this data, I mean, let's be honest, we all know about the for sale by owner data. For sale by owner home sells 19% below what it would have sold for with an agent. That's how it's presented. But in reality, what the data shows is that for sale by owner homes have a median sale price 19% lower than average or whatever it is. That doesn't mean that for sale by owners homes sell for less. It means that the average, the median price of a for sale by a homeowner is less. It just could mean that more people are selling for sale by owner in the bottom part of the market. It doesn't. So if you look at Compass homes selling for what they sell for, and then another home in the neighborhood selling for similar, and saying, well, this home sold for less. Yeah, but it may have smelled like cat pee. You don't, there's so many different factors in it that it would be tough. But if the agent is presenting both options, and then saying, here's our 3-phase plan. We believe this works best. Then, Jack is a competitor in the market. You should say, here's our 1-phase plan. And I think this works best. And then show them why. I think that's a simple solve. It's marketing.
Yeah, but there's got to be some consumer protection.
I don't know how you protect a consumer when the benefits can be both. I think the benefits are there for both. I don't know if a judge would agree, but I also don't think a judge knows everything about real estate.
Yeah.
So what are we protecting the consumer from? Selling on a private market? What? What if it sells for more? We don't know. We just don't. There's not enough information to know. But right now, they're able to sell as a brokerage exclusive, and you would think that would be for lower, right? I mean, if they started publicizing that listing and telling other people about it, don't we assume it would sell for a little more than a brokerage exclusive? So why do we allow brokerage exclusives? I mean, it's real hard for NAR to make an argument about protecting the consumer and putting it out there as Zillow, protect the consumer and get it out there publicly, and yet still follow CCP, which allows a brokerage exclusive, which is even more private. You can't do both. You either have to disallow brokerage exclusives completely and say everything's got to be public, or you can have a mix because, there's different marketing plans. I think that's fine. But the biggest complaint I've heard so far is that an agent would have to contact multiple brokerages to see what they have. Wah. That's easier right now than what we're doing is, door knocking, trying to find inventory, trying to find something for our client in this neighborhood. Well, part of what we do is already call brokerages because they can tell us one-on-one what they're holding currently as a brokerage exclusive. So we do that anyway. And they should be doing that. If they're not doing that, they're idiots. They're leaving inventory that their client doesn't have access for. All right. That's all I got this week for the Zillow versus Compass. There will be more. There's going to be more. There's probably going to be another filing, another clap back on it. Let's see. What's up, Andy? I see your hand up. Let's see. I'm assuming you want to talk about this, Andy. All right, I got you. You should be coming up, Andy. Are you there? No? All right, well, chime in whenever you get back, Andy. I think he raised his hand and then forgot his hand was up. Or what's this? Clubhouse is not working again.
Yeah, it's a little choppy. We can hear you, but it's a little grainy.
Let's see. What's up, Armando? Well, I'm trying to refresh it, Andy, to pull you up, but and I'm talking to Andy Norton, not Andy. Rose has its thorn. All right. I'm done.
I tried to pull him up too, and it's not working. You probably need to break out and come back in.
Yeah, if you want to come up, Andy, leave and come back, and we'll get you up there. Okay. Let's look at this new dashboard thing. We talked about this last week. We talked about the announcement, and then they finally have announced it. They fully announced it June 16th. And I've got a preview of what this dashboard looks like. So it's a tool built for members with data that moves the market, metro level housing affordability trends, sales and listing activity, home price movement, economic indicators, and then demographic and home ownership trends, which I thought was interesting. We'll see how demographic-y they get on the demographics because, fair housing. The other Andy dropped down. What did you drop down for, Andy? Two Andys down there.
I totally put Andy Norton back there. Sorry.
That's so funny. All right, we'll get you up there. Okay, let's see. the 6% mortgage scenario, what it unlocks. So using the proprietary affordability data, NAR's new analysis model shows what would happen if the 30-year rate mortgage fell to 6%. That's interesting. 5.5 million more U.S. households would qualify to purchase. 1.6 million of those would be buyers and renters. Roughly 10% of those households expect to buy within 12 to 10 months. So it's got a bunch of data here. Let me go to the NAR. Here's their official announcement of this new dashboard. And I'm curious if you guys are going to use it. We're going to take a look at it live. The dashboard tool enables NAR members to stay ahead of the market and better serve their clients using exclusive NAR data. The dashboard is one-stop shop that equips members with insights into shifts in affordability, demand, and the economy. This allows agents who are realtors to advocate on behalf of their clients with confidence and achieve better outcomes, said Lawrence Yoon, chief economist. That's cool. Dashboard also includes forward-looking analysis on how many households would qualify at the 6%. All right, so let's take a look at it. In order to get to this metro market statistics, you can go to nar.realtor and look at their article about this, and then there's a link at the bottom. You could also go to this really long, it's for the research-and-statistics/housing. Just put it on your favorites once you got it, okay? But here's your metro market statistics dashboard. Please note the Tableau data visualization embeds on this page is best viewed on a laptop or desktop computer. So it's not super mobile friendly. And to tell you the truth, it's not extremely desktop friendly either, because it's this little like framed insert on the web. It's okay, but it's not phenomenal. So how to use the viz? NAR's metro statistics, you select a metropolitan area. So let's it's got New York in there. Let's just do New York. Click an icon below to see the statistics. So the icons are impact of lower rates, housing affordability, housing statistics, economic conditions, home buyer profile, home ownership demographics, and then demographics. Then you click the button to retrieve a PDF of the report. So let's go click what button? Click the button to do a full PDF. All right, let's do a full PDF of that. Oh, I don't know where that went. I don't know where the PDF went. All right, let's just click on one of these then. Impact of lower rates in New York. So New York, Jersey City, the number of households that can afford to buy the median priced home with a 7% rate, all households 2 million, renter households 517 million. At a 6% rate, it's 2.3 million. And then renter households at 100,000. So if the mortgage rate fell from 7% to 6%, 285,000, almost 286,000 more households would afford the median price home, including 96,000 rentals. While 10% of these households typically buy a home, additional home sales are expected within the next 12 to 18 months. While 10% of these households typically buy a home, so 28,597. So of the 286,000, 28,000 would most likely buy. So you'd be adding 28,000 actual purchasers to the market. It's interesting. I don't know what to do with this because the rates are like in the high sixes right now. So yeah, I mean, it's cool to see, but what do you do with the data? I guess you could tell your buyer, do you want to compete with 28,000 more buyers or do you want to buy right now? That would be a good question. Housing affordability in Newark, Jersey City. Monthly payment. Let's see, HAI. What HAI is. HAI. 63.5. Price to income ratio is 6.3. Payment to income ratio is 39.3. What is that? What is the HAI? What am I? HAI as a data set, 63.5. Oh, housing affordability index. Got it. Share of homeowners and renters. Owners are less than 30%. Renters, let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. Share of income that homeowners and renters spend on housing. 30% or higher is considered cost burden. So of those, less than 37% is 67.7. Renters less than 30% or 45.7. So that's interesting data. And then housing statistics. That's those graphs are so blurry. These lines are dotted. And so the dotted line just makes it look like a blurry line. Let me see if I can make that. No, decreasing the size of your screen does not decrease the size of the line. So those lines are, they'll probably work on that. I bet they'll refresh the look a little bit. And then housing construction. See how many single family permits within 12 months. That's helpful. I think that's probably the most helpful, is that you could just look at the single family permits for your area. I like that a lot. Year-over-year growth. So it's up 11.7% from the previous year in this area now. If you look at the single family permits within 12 months, it looks not good. But when you see that it's up year-over-year, that's not bad. Okay, and then another tab up here is the economic conditions, number of employees, average weekly earnings. I like this data set. I feel like they should update some of the graphics. And wow, click on click on a racial or ethnic group. Who is the home buyer? Oh, I feel like I know it's just data, but I mean, this is exactly the stuff that they tell us to avoid talking about. So it's married couple of family household, 51.2. What am I supposed to do with this data? Target them for marketing? Because you're not allowed to do that. What is the usefulness of this data for a realtor? But anyway, you can click on one and see additional details, I guess. The income information is helpful because that is independent of any protected class. The age stuff, well, I guess ageism is protected now. The gender is protected. Education is not protected. So education, income ranges, and property values and financing. Those are the most helpful data points. All this, the gender and ethnic stuff, I don't know that this should be. I mean, it's there. I know it's there, but they always tell us to avoid talking about it. So it's just interesting that it's there. Home ownership demographics, same type of deal. And then, yeah, more demographics. Talking about who owns a home, ages of people that own a home, education, attainment, and ethnic group. And then you have the definition sources. So that's it. There's your dashboard. I would love to know how much it costs, just because I'm always curious how much these things cost. I think there's a couple of primary data points that are interesting. The impact of the lower rates, you could use that to show the influx of buyers that are going to be hitting up your market. So that's interesting. Housing affordability just kind of tells you where it is right now. That may just be good knowledge for you. Let's see housing statistics was interesting. Economic conditions for the area, I guess that's useful because that talks about the employees and the weekly earnings. I mean, there's not, what is the most useful data point here? It is a lot of data organized neatly, which I appreciate. I love that.
At least they're trying, right?
Yeah, I just don't know like how to practically use it because we can't target market by a lot of it. So
No, but I mean, you can use it in listing and buyer presentations. I mean, it's just.
What are you going to
Any
say,
data.
Jack? Here, hey, look how many black people are moving in. Like that's not allowed. You can't say that.
I
You know
didn't.
but
Okay.
But I mean,
These
look,
podcasts live forever, Ray. Don't forget.
I know that's my point. Like that.
I know.
What are we?
I know.
Why are they putting this data out there like that? Because somebody's going to use it like that. That's not good. I thought that's not good. It's just weird. Like I don't know what we're supposed to do that. Olivier said Ray can't run for office anymore. Yeah, I was being facetious. Like you can't. My point is you can't say that, and yet they're giving us the data for that. Like I don't know why. Why? I want to know why.
Well, see, Ray, when you have a census, they have that information about a region, city, county, or neighborhood. They can say that county is, or city, I don't know how they do it in the States, but that county is 12% Hispanic, for example.
Right.
So you have that info available publicly anyways.
Yeah. But we've always been told not to talk about it and to just say, if you're interested in that data, go to the census, go to the Census Bureau. Right. Well, maybe they don't do that in Canada. Do they do that in Canada?
I've never looked at the census data. Honestly, I really don't care much.
Do they have census?
I use the statistics.
Just everybody there is a maple leaf. That's all it is. A maple leaf and a hockey puck. That's the representation.
We get born through ice with hockey skates in our feet.
I just don't understand what the usefulness of the data is. I was actually really excited to have an economic dashboard because I thought that was really cool. But it's just the juxtaposition of collecting the data that then we're not supposed to reference. I don't know. I know, and I have clients that are like, hey, I want to live by people like me. So can you please tell me where the neighborhoods are where the people like me live? And I'm like, no, I can't do that. And by the way, those aren't white people telling me that, just so you know. I've never been told that. Well, I take that back. There is one person that said that they didn't want to sell to a certain group, and I didn't list their property. Other than that, almost every ethnic group except for white people are like, where are the people like me living? And I can't say that, but it happens a lot where they're like, we would rather live in a neighborhood that reflects more of who we are. Okay. I can't. So, and that's natural. I mean, it's normal. People want to live by their own people. But my point is, if NAR says that we're not supposed to reference that kind of data, and then in the other hand, they create a dashboard full of easy access to the data, what do you do with that? I don't know. It's just kind of weird. The most useful part of this would be the income and education data. I think maybe you could use that, the median and financing. And, we have a community YouTube channel that we're talking about, and I would love to go through some of this information, but there's no way I'm clicking on one of these ethnic groups and seeing the specific information for that ethnic group, especially doing that on YouTube this isn't even my market, so that's one of the reasons why I didn't choose my own market here. But there's no way I would do that because everyone's so litigious about it and fair housing and all that jazz. It's just a risk. I feel like it's a huge risk. So we'll see what happens. I hope I would rather be less litigious. And in my opinion, if there is a agent out there that's racist, I want them talking about it because I don't want to send that person any referrals. I want to know exactly how they feel about those things so that I can choose not to work with them. But instead, because they're keeping all that stuff hidden, now I may be sending referrals to, clan leader, and I don't even know. So I'm kind of the opposite of what some of those, a lot of people are like, well, if you talk about it, then other people could, kind of rally behind it and it creates a movement. I understand the other side of it. I just, in the world we are today, I think it would be very difficult for that to happen. But it's just weird. On one hand, they say don't talk about it. On the other hand, they say here's all the data if you're curious. The impact of lower rates data. I like this data point here at the bottom that shows you how many actual buyers would be competing for those listings if the rates were to drop. I think that's probably the most useful data point of this whole thing. And, screen recording this information for your market and then stopping on this bottom piece and talking a little bit about that. And then you could talk about how right now prices are high and people are able to get a pretty good deal if they go in at list price, where they can get some concessions or maybe even under list price in your market dependent. And then talk about how that would not happen if you had an influx of 28,000 buyers. I think that's a pretty powerful statement. I mean, you know, I'm a numbers nerd and I like it. I just don't know how useful it is for everything else. So there it is. There's the new dashboard. And as a matter of fact, you can have all the data in the world and still not get stuff right. Here's what a Redfin data journalist learned from taking $25,000 bath on the sale of his house. And I'm going to summarize. This is more of an anecdotal story, but it is a Redfin data journalist. Basically, in 2022, him and his wife were temporarily living downstairs in their parents. That was during the pandy. And they were like, hey, let's all, with this pandy going on, let's move wherever we want to because we can live everywhere. And so they did, and they moved. They bought a place in St. Louis, I believe it was. Yeah, St. Louis. And so it was a beautiful property, 130 years old. They wound up living there for 2 years. They wrote an offer on it that was $50,000 than where the person was listed, which during that climate, that's crazy because at the time, like stuff was flying off the shelves and they were like, oh, we're going in 50K under. And the people, he said that the sellers couldn't sign it fast enough. Fast forward 2 years, they have to move. There's no way they can maintain a 130-year-old rental property. They don't want to maintain that. So they said, okay, let's sell it. So they put it on the market, wound up taking an offer $25,000 less, and they couldn't even sign it fast enough. And I believe they put it on the market at the price. Let's see. I think it was priced about the same. We listed the home at the same price we had bought it, knowing they were taking a loss. So they wound up taking a loss on it. Interesting that it's a data journalist and got this wrong. But it's hard to do, especially when you're moving into a new area or a new city. It's hard to figure that stuff out. That's normal. But one of the things I liked what he said was at the bottom. He said, still, while we walked away with less money, we're carrying 2 years of amazing memories, new friendships, and a beautiful baby girl. In my mind, we came out ahead. Well, that's a strong statement. But I wonder, I wish you would have done the numbers for us on what it would have cost to rent in that same time period. And to see, like, okay, if you rented during that same time, would the cost of living there been about the same or not? Because they lived there, they got to paint, they got to mow, they got to do whatever they wanted to the house. They got to landscape. If you're renting, you can't do any of that stuff. You got to live in it as it is, and you don't have any control over that. So I'm just curious if they were to rent, what the average rent at the time was and what the cost comparison would have been for 2 years, because he made the determination that he probably should have rented. And in short, if you're going to live somewhere in less than 2 years, you should most likely rent. I just thought it was an interesting anecdote that even all the data in the world can't really save you. So if you're looking at the realtor dashboard thinking, well, we have a dashboard, I won't miss. Think again. Speaking of data, Opendoor is back in the spotlight. Look what happened to their stock. It's crazy. What are they doing? So if you remember, Opendoor announced a couple of weeks ago that it was they had a key agent app meant to support its agent partner program, and it was changing what it was doing. Well, the stock started to trickle up. As of Monday, July 21st, shares reached $3.31. That's up 429% in just 1 week. So what happened? Reddit happened. Much of the activity appears tied to a post on Reddit's Wall Street Bets forum titled Opendoor, This Isn't Just a Pump, which received over 1,600 upvotes and 760 comments. Some users joked how gambling with rent money, one claimed to have dropped $150,000 on the stock. Their target is $30 a share. That's crazy. Why the optimism? Opendoor is expected to report its first ever positive EBITDA. The company has aggressively cut costs, fewer direct competitors in the iBuying space than before. Well, there's fewer direct competitors because it didn't work. So unless they have a model that works, which they haven't proven yet, Opendoor has faced potential delisting from the NASDAQ due to its low share price. I feel like this is a Redditor's dream, is to have a way to sell stuff without agents. Like if you read a lot of the forums, they lambast agents on Reddit. And so if there's a company that kind of promotes that, and then they can also run up the stock and make some money, I think, it's the best of both worlds over there. So, meanwhile, financial services Keefe, Bruyette, and Woods, KBW, issued a note cautioning investors. We believe the stock price jump is a retail-driven squeeze as the stock has become popular on social threads like Reddit and X. We will remain cautious on the shares at current levels as Open's ability to scale profitability remains uncertain, particularly as the company maintains the conservative posture facing uncertain housing backdrop. There you go. If you're a real estate stock investor, there's a little warning for you. Do your own research. I'm not an investment analysis guy. Is that just disclaimer? Don't trust what I say. If you do, you're an idiot. Is that a disclaimer? All right. I have to be honest. I don't know who Tyler Cameron Jones is. Do y'all know who Tyler Cameron Jones is? Is this well-known person? Drop it in the comments and or Clubhouse. Just flash your mic if you know who this person is. I'd love to talk to you. Nobody knows. Well, he's popular enough to get an article written about him joining SERHANT. He may be best known for a stint on The Bachelorette, but the Florida native's making headlines for a very different reason. He just signed a licensed agent at Ryan Serhant's real estate brokerage, SERHANT. He's getting a lot of popular people over there at SERHANT. He built a name for himself in reality TV, but his business chops go beyond the screen. He runs construction company, Image One Construction, and previously hosted Go Home with Tyler Cameron, where he renovates homes in his hometown. Let's see. All right, so SERHANT's getting very popular people. Ari,
Yeah, he's a new agent. Welcome to the club.
He's a new agent, but maybe experienced some in real estate.
Sorry.
There's actually a lot of them on this article. I'm going to leave it for you guys to kind of look into it more. I honestly don't know any of these people. I know Jason Mesnick a little bit. I've talked to him a couple of times, but I've never watched The Bachelor. I only know Jason because he joined the Real Brokerage. It's just interesting. It's an interesting move. And I think it's a strong one because you already have the popularity. So now you already have the eyeballs. It's just day trading attention. Selfish plug for my book club. All right, so let's go into the economy. June home sales drop as prices hit a record high. Sales of previously owned homes fell 2.7% from May to 3.93 million units. Wow, 3.93. I feel like it's been a while since we've been in threes. Usually it's around 4 something. Sales were unchanged from June 2024. The analysts had expected a drop of just 0.7%. So still better than what the analysts anticipated. This report's based on closings. Contracts were likely signed in April and May. The average rate on a 30-year fix jumped above 7% a few times. High mortgage rates are causing home sales to remain stuck in cyclical lows, said Lawrence Yoon, chief economist for NAR. In the release, the average mortgage rates were to decline 6%. Our scenario analysis suggests 160,000 renters becoming first-time home buyers. He used his dashboard for that. He used the dashboard that he made for that. That's funny that he integrated his new feature into his press release about the market. That's smart. I mean, that's a good marketing move. Supply continues to gain with 1.53 million units for sale at the end of June. That's an increase of 15.9% year over year and represents a 4.7 month supply at the current sales pace. 6 month supply is considered balanced nationally. In our market, a 4-month supply is a buyer's market. I mean, at 4 months, people are going below ask and getting concessions. The median price of a home sold in June was $435,300. That's up 2% year over year. 24th consecutive month of increases. All right, next up, 1 in 7 pending homes fell through last month. That's the highest level on record. Wow. That's 14.9% of contracts fell through. Are you guys getting a lot of that? We still are. We had 4 or 5 contracts in the last month or so drop. We've gotten them all back under contract and sold 2 of them by now, but they did fall through. Pending home sales are falling through at a higher rate than in the past, largely because it's a buyer's market. There are hundreds of thousands more homes. I don't know. I mean, it's been a buyer's market in the past, in 2017, 2018, 2019, it wasn't far from a buyer's market, and 11, 12, and 11% of homes were falling through. So only recently did it get down to 10.3%, which is only 4% away, 5% away from where we are now. And that was during the pandy. So I don't know, to say that it's falling through because it's a buyer's market is a misnomer. I think it's falling through because buyers are more picky due to affordability. It's not because it's a buyer's market. It's because buyers are stretching to afford something. I think that's the issue. Let's see. Buyers have leverage. Some sellers are canceling deals because other homes. Some buyers are canceling deals because other homes pop up at the same price range they like better. Maybe, or because they discover a flaw and get nervous. That's it. That's the one. They discover a flaw and then they get on the website and they're like, but this one, look at this one. This one doesn't have that flaw. And then they go through the inspection with that one, and that one does have a flaw, and so they cancel it. That's what happens. Sellers are willing to make deals. Sometimes, right now, some sellers were testing the market and realized that it's not going to go where they want. They're backing out. Sunbelt metros have the highest cancellation rate. All right, this is kind of a similar article on realtor.com. Home sales fall to a new 30-year low in 2025. So mortgage rates remain elevated. So agents out there, if you're struggling right now, if it's hard right now, it's okay. It's hard for everyone. Now, if you can figure out how to make money right now, then you're going to start to take market share. If you can figure out how to do well in a market that's trending downward, then not only will you gain the skills and confidence you need to really succeed and do well in an easy market, but right now you can take market share as other people are backing out. U.S. home prices edged down 0.1% in June, with declines in most major metros led by Washington, Austin, and San Diego. San Diego. My friend Dan Parker's in San Diego. Dan Diego. Redfin home price index. As you can see, home prices are still going up. Why isn't the Case-Shiller index showing right now? Maybe it's on the same line. Weird. It usually has both of them on there, but it doesn't right now. Strange. Month to month versus national. I mean, look at that explosion we had during the COVID. It's crazy. I feel like that stuff still has to get sorted out. Washington, D.C. home prices fell for the 3rd consecutive month. All right, so the chart looks terrible because this chart has this huge downward swath at the end, but really it's only down negative 1.8%. That's not terrible for home prices. Mortgage demand flatlines at low levels as mortgage rates hit a 4-week high. The average contract interest rate for 30-year fixed, $806,500 or less, increased to 6.84% from 6.82%. So a 0.2% change, and they say that flatlines the market. I think there's other stuff out there probably. Applications to refi loan, which are most sensitive to weekly, fell 3%. Applications for mortgage to purchase rose 3% for the week and were 22% higher than the same week a year ago. So get a little bit of the spring market, but everyone says right now that the spring market is not what it was, and it's just been pretty disappointing for everyone. New listings of U.S. homes fall to the lowest level in nearly 2 years. So while we've had an increase in inventory of 1.5 million, the current new listing number is down. So the balance of power in housing is shifted towards buyers because listings have piled up and demand has slowed, said Redfin senior economist Asad Khan. Prospective buyers are feeling discouraged by this new reality, and some are reacting by staying put and renting their home instead of selling. Home sales dipped in June. We already talked about that one. Home prices still hit a record high. All right, good news for home buyers. Sellers start pricing lower. So used to, people would put these prices out there and they were aspirational sales prices. That's happening less and less. So the median U.S. asking price was $407,000 during the 4 weeks ending July 13. That's only up 2.9% year over year. It's the smallest increase in 4 months, slightly higher than the median home sale price of $401,000. So that gap is getting smaller and smaller. The median sale price is up 1.7% year over year. All right, 2 more articles. This one is a cool report you guys should go to. It's a affordability and home building state-by-state report card. So this report is on Realtor, but there's some kind of partnership that Realtor has with Inman right now. And part of me wonders if Inman's about to get bought by Move, but there's some kind of partnership they're working with right now. And they have, it's over on realtor.com/research. It's called the State Report Cards 2025. And if you look here, the affordability criteria. Well, no, that's not the one. Hang on. That fooled me. I thought it was the actual, where is it? Interactive thing. There it is. Here's the interactive. So the total state report card. You could click on your state, like Arkansas, and the affordability components are 68. Home building components are 62.4. And then the total score is 65.2. It's a B. In Texas, it's an A-. Affordability components 55. Home building components 88. Total score 71. So it's interesting that Arkansas is more affordable, but building components got a lower score, so it's a B. Texas is less affordable, but building components, I get an 88, so it's an A. F is California. Affordability components is 5. That's crazy. Home building components 34. So a total score of 19.5. Other notable Fs: Oregon, New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. A D is over in Montana. I didn't expect that. I thought they would be better. See where my A's at. We have a South Carolina, A, Texas, Iowa, and that's all the A's. The rest are B's and C's. Interesting. And then they talk about where this data came from and the stuff they use for it. But this is, again, another good one to do. Highlight your state, screen record it, talk about it, see what people think it should be for your state. What grade would you give us? All right, and lastly, institutional landlords see competition from an unexpected source. They really shouldn't. It shouldn't be unexpected, especially if they're an institutional landlord, because they have nerds that work on their staff that should have seen this coming. But basically, when people can't sell their home, there's 2 things. They either stay in it or they rent it out. So Dave Ramsey calls them accidental landlords. So where they're like, well, we can't sell it. We're still moving, so we're going to move. And then they wind up renting out the home instead of selling it. Now, institutional landlords that work in specific regions, that's where this data, I think, is valuable. But institutional landlords that cover the country, it's less valuable, because when that person moves, who was going to sell their house but decided not to sell their house, so they rented it out and they move. Where are they moving to? They're moving to a new city, and in that city, they were most likely going to rent, because a lot of people can't buy 2 houses like that. So it's going to add a renter in a place they were going to buy. So you are going to get the benefit of that. But regionally, if you're seeing a lot of people leave your area and they can't sell the home because they're going to take a loss, so they're putting it back on the market, that does create some competition for your rentals for sure. So there you go. Super easy. That's it for this week. I kept it. I mean, we are so close to an hour. We just hit the 60 minutes and 2-second mark. So boom. Olivier says, except Toronto and Vancouver. Oh, you think Canada is an A? Olivier gives Canada an A. Well, your building components, you'll got a bunch of lumber up there. So your building components would be high. The affordability would be the question. And it's a very different situation up there than it is here for affordability. So, did we get Andy up? He's still got his hand up. Andy Norton, I appreciate you watching the show, but we tried to get you up here. I don't know what happened. Well, that's all the show I got for this. See you guys next week, where we will. Oh wow, it got really slow. Hang on, there you go. There's a delay. I'll see you guys next week. Got a bunch of news stories coming. We'll update you on what's happening with Compass and Zillow. We may have a kind of a quiet week. This week was relatively quiet on all the industry tea stuff because I think a lot of reporters are on vacation. So we'll stir the pot once the reporters come back. But thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.